As we all are aware, a massive erosion of wealth happened when India was under the British rule. But now we are all set to bring the Khoya Hua Taj and reclaim the title of Bharat Sone Ki Chidiya, as India is all set to become the third largest economy. What does this mean for our nation? What lies in the hands of the people of this nation? What kind of opportunities lie ahead for us, the investors, HNIs and ultra HNIs? We will be discussed by none other than Mr. Navin Agarwal, CEO at Motilal Oswal. Let me take a moment to introduce Mr. Navin Agarwal. Mr. Navin Agarwal is the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company. Prior to joining Motilal Oswal Asset Management Company, he was the Managing Director of Motilal Oswal Financial Service Limited. He has started his career as an analyst in 1994, went on to be head of research and managed portfolios till 2000, which brings about 25 plus years of experience to the table. Now I'm handing over the mic to Mr. Vikas Agarwal, who will in turn be handing over the mic to Mr. Navin Agarwal.
Thank you, Navin ji, for accepting our request and taking the time out from your busy schedule and agreed to speak to all our investors. Well, this is the summit where we want to read your mind. We'll understand because you have had an opportunity to work with most of the FIIs in India. I hope you are able to hear me, Mr. Navin.
Yes. Are you able to hear me as well?
Yeah. So without any further ado, I would request you to please take over the stage and share your thought process, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas, and thank you, everybody. It is my great pleasure to address, the opening session with a topic that is very close to our heart. We are, as you know, by nature, optimistic, and Bharat Sone Ki Chidiya, the topic that has been, assigned to us, will be a reflection of, some of this optimism and our outlook as we see the, coming years for India. I just want to do a quick check if my slide is visible on the screen.
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Okay. So basically, we believe that India is likely to be, one of the brightest spots in terms of global growth. So if you see the first line, after the COVID, decline of 6.6% and the subsequent recovery, of 8.9% in the calendar year 2021 and 8.2% in calendar year 2022, we are looking at a growth rate of 6 to 7% for India in the coming years. And if you look at some of the larger economies, right, you are nowhere close to those kind of growth rates. And this is something that we believe makes India stand out in the global arena. And what this growth does to India is that from a rank top 5, among the global nations, we should by 2030 hopefully climb to rank 3 in the global order, and that is something which is remarkable. Just to get, sorry, am I audible, guys? Disturbance. Vikas, am I audible? I'm hearing a lot of background sound here. Just want a quick check. Am I audible and is the slide visible?
Yes, sir, you're audible and the slides are also visible.
Super.
Please go ahead.
Actually, I can hear the backstage conversations. If you can just mute that so that I can continue with my presentation. Thank you. Yeah. So now why this is important is because, we all talk about FI investments in India accounting for sub 20% of the holdings here. But if you look at how big India is in the scheme of, global portfolios, it's really a very, very tiny number. And as India rises to, one of the top 3 countries in the world, you will see that allocation also, change for India. Now, this is one of our favorite frameworks called the Next Trillion Dollar Opportunity. Ramdev wrote this framework first time in 2007 December, when India was knocking the door of $1 trillion GDP. It took us a good nearly 60 years post-independence to achieve $1 trillion of GDP. And from that point to today, in 2023, we are at $3 trillion. In 2022 itself, we were at $3 trillion GDP. So what we achieved in the following 15 years was roughly 2 times what took us 60 years to achieve. And now, given the Amrit Kal that is ahead, what we are likely to achieve in a space of 6 to 7 years is very similar to what has been achieved in a long time period of 75 years. And this is remarkable in very many ways. Firstly, as the country moves from this $3 to $6 trillion kind of a GDP, there are 2 other countries which have already traveled this journey, which is America and China. America took 12 years to travel this journey. India took 5 years to travel this journey. And that time period was one of the most exciting time periods in terms of the wealth creation in the equity markets. For a decade-long period, nearly 12 years, the US markets compounded at the rate of 17% per annum. And the Chinese markets achieved this feat in a lot shorter time. And their markets compounded at the rate of 31% per annum. And we believe that the possibility of Indian markets giving you strong double-digit returns as we move from $3 to $6 trillion GDP is quite high. A whole bunch of negatives have been put behind. A bunch of reforms have happened. We had demonetization, RERA, which is the largest reform for the real estate sector, IBC, which is the largest reform for the corporate sector and corporate lending, GST, which is one of the largest reforms, tying in all the small businesses, consumers, the handling of COVID crisis and so on, to a stage where now we have corporate credit, which is growing at double digits, corporate capex, which are showing green shoots of picking up. Companies like L&T have, their order books really brimming and growing very, very strongly, and corporate profitability improving. I'm going to show you more slides on this. But basically, we believe that there are some very exciting forces of compounding, the 6 Ds that we feel will unfold in India, and those are the drivers to take the GDP from $3 to $6 trillion and to potentially create the kind of wealth that China and America have already seen during the course of their journey from $3 to $6 trillion. So I'm going to start. I'm not going to talk about democracy, but moving on to demographics. So this is the year 2022 when the working age population of India is nearly touching that of China. And if you look at the income, the median incomes and the income growth, the median age of Indians right now is at 27.9, which is where China was at in 1998. And we've seen very strong growth in their economy subsequently. If you look at the addition of working age population in the world, out of every 100 people who will be added, nearly 21 people will be added in India. And this leads to a huge supply of labor force that can support manufacturing, that can support services and many other businesses. So this is a very interesting opportunity that faces India and for Indian businessmen to create value over the next decade. A few more comparisons with China. So we are very similar to where China was in 2007 in terms of per capita incomes. They obviously saw a J-curve because of both the consumption and the investment engines firing. We believe that India also will have fairly steep growth rates in per capita incomes in absolute GDP in the coming years, as you can see both of these numbers here. So GDP moving up from $3 to $6 trillion and then eventually to $7.5 to $8 trillion, per capita incomes moving up from around $2,000 to over $5,000 during this time period. And this linear growth in incomes, in our view, will present non-linear investment opportunities. Urbanization is expected to grow also quite strongly in the coming years, and consumption as a space can show a lot of non-linearity during this phase. This is the income distribution of the population. And so if you look at the absolute upper crust of the society, the richest people, we expect that the number of households will multiply nearly 5x as far as this is concerned, right? From 5.6 million to 25 million. If you look at the next rung, the number of households are expected to rise from 70 million to 165 million. The number of poor people, the bottom end of the society, will shrink by nearly 60%. And when you see these kind of 5x, 2x kind of rise in the number of households eligible or onboarded or recruited, for certain items of consumption, you're likely to see fairly exponential growth in consumption. Many of these. Also, over the next decade, as I showed you, the income, the economic growth could be 10% compounded as far as the nominal growth is concerned. But some of the most exciting, stories we will do in the consumption space, in the retailing space, the non-grocery retailing space, as well as various other aspects of consumption. And I'm going to talk more about it, in the slides. The other exciting opportunity that we see is, or driver that we see, is deglobalization. The share of manufacturing is at minimum 15% right now. We think can go up to over 20%. And in a time when the GDP itself is growing at 9 to 10%, we are looking at the manufacturing output potentially trebling from $447 billion to $1,490 billion. So the first big investment opportunity that we spoke about is consumption and various facets of consumption. Second big opportunity that we're looking at is manufacturing. Again, low labor cost, high labor productivity. India has a lot of competitive advantages that China has, as you can see on your screen. The next thing that we're talking about is digitization. Lockers in 2015, account aggregator in 2019, instant remittance in 2009, UPI introduction in 2016, Aadhaar card. I mean, a bunch of these things which we believe sets the stage for a technological leap. These are all the data about various components of digital India, which includes Aadhaar, eKYC, UPI, locker, the number of GST users, the direct benefit transfer, which is quite revolutionary. So also the next big driver or the compounding force for India is the decade of reforms. A whole bunch of things happened, but I'm going to just highlight a couple of things. Production linked incentives has been a game changer, which can drive a trebling of our manufacturing. Direct benefit transfer has been a game changer. The leakages have been plugged. I talked about some of the digital initiatives of the government. The Gati Shakti program, where 100 lakh crores will be invested in infrastructure connecting for various connectivity projects. IBC, which is a game-changing for lending. The next compounding for India is the developing capital markets. Now, what is interesting is that the percentage of household assets and equities very consistently. Even now, we are at 4.8%, and as you can see, the property is at about 49%, gold is at 15%, bank deposits at 15%. So equities is still at a nascent stage, and we believe that if you look at the annual household savings of nearly 52 lakh crores, 4.8%, which is 2.5 lakh crores, is currently finding its way into the markets. The SIP book out of that is 1.44 lakh crores. We believe that every incremental flow of 1% addition from 4.8% that you see compared to 45% share of household savings invested in equities in the US, we believe that that could add maybe 8 lakh crores. So it's an amazing supply of capital that be available to entrepreneurs, to exciting businesses through the capital market. The last 25 years have been, an exciting story for India. Here's how we see the next 25 years. We're at a $3 trillion GDP within a $96 trillion global GDP. We think that we can go faster than the world. And as a result, our share in the global GDP, which is at 3%, would go up to a double-digit number of over 10%. The poverty ratios I showed you earlier, that there will be maybe 65% drop. So from a 10% poverty ratio of the population will be at negligible numbers. per capita incomes during this time period go up nearly 10x. And from being 19% of the global per capita incomes, we are likely to become nearly 75% of the world's per capita incomes. Another exciting story of exponentiality is that savings. The last 25 years have resulted in savings of nearly $12 trillion. Minuscule part of that has gone into equities. There'll be a 10x in this savings pool over the next 25 years to $100 trillion. And the share of equities in this, in our view, is not higher, which presents massive opportunities for the BFSI space, for investments, capital, and many other such spaces. All of these stories are not without risk. Inflation is a risk. Global shocks, we saw COVID, global financial crisis. You will have recurrence of these type of events every few years. Black Swan, I spoke about COVID already. Political risk. So, I mean, no story comes without risk, but we believe that the opportunity in terms of all these 6 Ds and the forces of compounding, we believe are quite exciting. So, I mean, watch out for India 100 years, like 25 years. We believe that compounding is not intuitive. Long-term compounding needs imagination more than anything else. India has had a very solid compounded past. We believe that the future is as exciting. The GDP is expected to rise nearly 10x during this, Amrit Kal for India. That India is the ultimate next trillion-dollar opportunity. So I spoke about consumption, spoke about manufacturing, spoke about digitization, I spoke about financial services. So basically, be optimistic and patient for compounded wealth creation, and don't bet against India. I'm going to skip some of these slides in the interest of time and talk about, all these are very interesting, but, you will need investment frameworks to be able to, capitalize on this. And our co-founder, Mr. Ramdev Agarwal, started writing wealth creation studies in 1995. In 2022, he wrote the 27th wealth creation study. A lot of these frameworks will be very important for you to navigate this journey of 25 years. As you have, a proportion of savings pool that goes into equities rise, as you have all these 6 Ds, the compounding forces, really play out, as the wealth creation of India, is similar to what we saw in the US and China during this exciting phase of $3 to $6 trillion. Frameworks like next trillion-dollar opportunity, frameworks like mid to mega opportunities, frameworks like value migration, are all explained in some of these wealth creation studies. We have, in fact, as an investor education initiative, created a website called Motilal Oswal WCS.com, which has all the 27 years of wealth creation studies and all these frameworks. And for those who want to read the detailed report, you can download the PDF. For those who want a summary of it, there's a 1-minute summary that you can take a look at. But you will need these investment frameworks to navigate this journey of $3 to $6 trillion of the next 25 years of benefiting from these compounding forces. What we've tried to do is distill all of this and just a quick 101 on how we see wealth can be created. We have our own proprietary QGLP framework, but basically we believe that to create wealth, at mid-teens kind of percentages, you will need a minimum threshold of ROC. You can't be buying poor return on capital, poor return on equity companies and create enormous amount of wealth. So that's the starting point. Next, you need growth and longevity. And here, what we try and do is identify themes which we believe will allow you to create wealth during this journey. And some of the themes I can share with you. So basically, consumption, we believe, is a very powerful theme. But consumption has many parts to it. It's got staples like soaps, detergents, toothpaste, etc., etc. There are discretionary consumption items which could include consumer durables, which could include electrical appliances, which could include home building products, and so on and so forth, which could include jewelry, which could include retailers, and so on and so forth. So we believe that while consumption is a powerful theme, you got to split that further down into sub themes and bet on the right sub themes. As I showed you earlier, the highest income households are likely to grow 5x. Now, if you can buy something that is catering to that 5x multiplication in households, the kind of wealth that you can create is disproportionate. On the other hand, if you're catering, to a segment that caters to those relatively lowest end of the society, which will shrink by 65%, then the prospects for some of those companies may not be so bright. So that's one example of a theme. Or for instance, if you look at healthcare, then you have domestic formulations, you have US generics, you have CRAMS companies, you have hospitals, you have diagnostic companies. What part of that healthcare chain will you really bet on? And then identify which are the themes within healthcare that we bet on. Similarly for financial services, similarly for digitization, and so on and so forth. And so we believe that once those themes are identified as an investor, we usually would like to allocate a bulk of our capital on those themes and allow managers a little flexibility to step out of those themes. And finally, they say that what love is to life, price is to investing. And so we have our own proprietary frameworks on valuations, which are equally important. And so these are and conditions and not, or conditions of, what needs to be met to make a successful investment. I will leave you with a few frameworks. So we believe that management integrity, which was a part of our 24th wealth creation study, is a very, very important framework. The jockey is more important than the horse. We believe that management is more important than business in the overall process of investing. There are a couple of reports on valuation, the 23rd wealth creation study, which will tell you what is the Lakshman Rekha outside which investors should not be stepping, and the 26th wealth creation study, which talks about digital businesses. In fact, most recently, there's a book by Adam Cecil that I'd like to recommend to all of you, which is just a brand new book that's recently come out, which gives you a reasonably good framework on how to invest in some of these businesses. Value migration is one of our most favorite themes. Age-old, multi-decade-old book, and continues to remain super relevant in terms of investing. Next $1 trillion, I already spoke about. 2007 December is when we wrote this wealth creation study, and we feel that this journey from $3 to $6 trillion will present many non-linear or exponential opportunities. And one of the things that excite all of you here, who are attending this presentation today, is the journey of companies from mid-sized to mega-sized. So mid-sized companies are those which are ranked 101 to 250. As they go on to become large caps and mega caps, how does that journey really play out? What are the ingredients of companies that move from mid to mega? I recommend reading the 20th wealth creation study, which has detailed explanation.
I've read your book, The Joys of Compounding, and it's really amazing.
We believe that focus is very important in life.
How do you say that humility increases the savings and not the income? I would like to know.
The most effective way to increase your savings is not to increase your income, it is to increase your humility, because many of us we fall prey to what is known as lifestyle creep. As our incomes go up, we adjust our standard of living accordingly, and therefore there is no change in our savings level even after increasing our income level. So to build up your savings over time, increase your humility. What is important is not to fall prey to these comparison games and trying to compete with the Jonases. What's important is to play your own game, because life at the end of the day is a single player game. You have to play the game which is aligned with your personal value system. No need to impress anyone else.
Right. So next question. Yeah.
Hi Gautam sir, Gurvanshi this side. I read your book, The Joys of Compounding. My question is from chapter number 23, and my question is, how does growing firms with excess returns are more valuable than NPV?
Or focused portfolios on the alternative investment side is extremely important. This is my last slide. So basically, as a group, we believe that through this thought leadership of 25 plus years, 27 years of wealth creation studies starting 1995, and the skin in the game, we have nearly 4,000 crores invested in our own funds. We are very committed to travel this journey with all of you over the next 25 years, as the per capita incomes of India go up 10x, and the forces of compounding lead to massive wealth creation for all the investors in the coming years. Thank you very much for your patient hearing. Vikas, I'm done with my presentation, and if you want me to take any questions, I'm happy to take them.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Navin sir. I just want to mention that when listening to you always given me a lot of wisdoms. And whenever I had a chance to listen to you, my lens towards the way we look at India is become even more sharper, in the sense that the kind of data points that you bring on the table gives us more conviction that there is no denying on the fact that we are going to be the $10 trillion economy 10 years down the line. And Motilal Oswal has always spent a lot of time, energy, efforts towards doing more of equity research, in India. And one thing that because I spent almost a decade with Motilal Oswal as an employee and had an opportunity to work with Navin sir. One thing I clearly remember that the kind of efforts that Motilal Oswal as an organization put towards educating and empowering the investor community is always great. And this is one of the initiatives that we have taken at AIF and PMS Experts India. And I would say that we have imbibed this learning from Motilal Oswal as a house. So thank you so much once again for accepting our request and agreeing to speak to our investor. One question that I want to take quickly in next 2 to 3 minutes time, Navin sir, is that we talked about this journey, but what do you think? What can come on our way, which will either delay the process or will have sort of challenges?
If you look at the journey of 100 Sensex, going up 600 times, the journey is full of challenges. We've got wars, we've got pandemics, we've got political upheavals. We've got bankruptcy of India, where gold was being sent to London at one point in time. Urgent need for reforms led by IMF. I think COVID more recently. We believe that geopolitical, the world has become a very different place, right? There was one Hitler that was required to create World War II. Now you can see quite a few of them, all over the place, right? And also, whenever there's a regime change, like there was from UK to US, and now potentially from US to China, at least China has that aspiration. We believe that these are not easy things, for the world to reconcile, but they're very top down. They're probably going to impact the whole world. They're probably going to impact all asset classes. So we believe that this is a risk that may be there, but it's something that cannot bother us, beyond a point in time. So that's point number one. Point number two, how the whole US economy shapes up, because, one of our largest drivers of the economy is the Indian IT services business, and the largest customer of the IT services business is the US. And after a crazy expansion in the balance sheet and the first attempt to contract that balance sheet, you're already seeing skeletons out there. And really how that shapes up is something that I would say is a wait and watch. A lot of the opportunities that have come India's way over the last many years, execution, or our own problems have come in the way of fully capitalizing or seizing those opportunities. And that is why even smaller countries like Bangladesh or Vietnam end up benefiting, disproportionately in certain businesses. We believe that, an enabling government, a stable, regulatory and tax regime, investments in infrastructure, basically paving the way for the Indian businessman to really provide jobs to Indians, to generate exports. I don't know, Vikas, whether you're aware, but since December month, India has been exporting on a monthly basis, iPhones worth more than $1 billion. December was the first time that India crossed $1 billion of iPhone exports, and we're looking at, I think, $18 billion of iPhone exports in the next year ending March 2024. Who could have imagined that we would export more than 1 lakh crores of iPhones in the year ending March 2024? This is just the beginning of the journey. And all this is possible if the government enables, these global companies, if the government enables infrastructure, provides a stable tax and policy regime, then we can really be the winners in this world, because the world is really looking at an alternative to China. China plus one is a real story staring at us and is likely to play out over the next very many years. So really execution, geopolitics, US, I think these are some of the things that can cause temporary setback, but I don't think any of this will totally derail, this exciting India story that I spoke about.
Right. That's the reason I use this word delay instead of saying that whether it is doubtful case. So with that, we'll conclude the session, sir. Once again, thank you so much for accepting our request and taking the time out from your busy schedule.
Thank you and happy investing.